The Sciforror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sciforror Film Podcast. Him, the other one is Scott Walker.
Hello.
And I am Andy Walker. Hello. Hello.
One of these days we're going to be consistent about how we introduce ourselves.
No. Consistency. What's the point of consistency? How are you?
You might remember it.
Oh, don't be so silly. I remember my own name half the time. What? How?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's still quite warm here at the moment, and it's just,
yeah.
I don't know. I've had this conversation with a couple of people now, and everyone thinks I'm going through my version of menopause because I keep having really, really hot flushes. And I don't know why.
I'm not sure you're an age to go.
I know I'm not of an age, or I do. I sit here, and then I'll just randomly, just like I did earlier, I was sitting here perfectly fine, and then just felt like someone had just put me in a furnace. I was just roasting.
Maybe it's voodoo.
Maybe it's voodoo.
Maybe someone's got a doll of you that they put in a furnace. Anyway,
it would explain a lot.
Anyways,
and how are you, Father?
Me, I am remarkably alright. As it goes. All things considered, I'm remarkably okay.
Fair enough.
Which is quite an achievement for me.
It is.
Yes. Right. So this week we have 2 short films and a longer feature film thing, which we are going to review. I don't know why I keep saying that, because it's basically what we do every week. I mean, there are occasions where we don't do that, but the majority of weeks it's 2 short films and a feature film.
I think if we change it, that's when to say it, because
yeah, it's just a bit silly, really. I don't know. Anyway, the first of these short films is a 2021 film called Phenohunting. Director is Eric Bakshi. The writers are Eric Bakshi and Ruben Sarian. The cast is Katie Gibbons and Jonathan Toohill. The synopsis for this film says, in the near future, the great agricultural collapse of the planet Earth forces the human species to migrate off-world, where a select few, known as the cultivators, search for the substance that can revive humanity.
Yeah.
It
might look like that, but it doesn't. It might sound like that, but it doesn't look like it in some of the videos.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I think it's got a really good look and some really good effects.
Yeah.
It's got an interesting kind of idea.
Yeah.
It gets to a certain point which doesn't really tell you a lot about anything, and then there's basically the end part, which is the credits, is basically a music video.
Yeah, it does seem like it sort of turns that way after sort of about halfway through. It just,
if I've got this right, what basically they're saying in this story is that smoking dope is going to save humanity.
Well,
which is utter rubbish.
I know, but I think it's also the fact that unless you don't get unless hang on, unless you don't go. No, that's not even English. Because I know that smoking it does make you go have different effects on people. It can either make you paranoid or give you munchies or whatever.
Uh,
But sometimes it can chill you out, and
It can,
if you're getting to that point where humanity's come to an end, maybe that's what you need. It's just to be chilled out.
it can,
But yes,
yes. But
it does seem like the
I
fact
just,
that halfway through it they just go, just smoke a joint.
yeah, I just don't think that the whole of humanity sitting down and smoking joints is going to revive humanity or to reverse the effects of climate change or agricultural collapse.
No, there is
I
that.
somehow don't think that's going to work.
No, unless everyone starts, or even the fact, even if everyone starts growing it, it means that there's going to be no food or anything grown either. But it's just, it does seem like a very weird premise behind the film. It's
Uh,
very good, very well
Most
done.
most people I know who smoke don't, to a large extent, on a regular basis. Not all of them, but some. I'd say the majority of them are pretty useless at doing almost anything. To be
Yeah,
honest, so I
yeah.
can't
After
see them
after a
being the
couple,
saviour of humanity.
yeah, after a couple, it does seem like that they would just be like, well, there wouldn't be much point in them doing anything anyway.
I must say, to be honest, this film really didn't do it for me at all.
No, it's don't get me wrong. Like
Kind of,
the cinematography on it, like some of the visual effects, the camera work, it's in right. But just saying, halfway through it, it seemed to lose the premise to what was going on, and it just,
yeah,
it's like it just sort of lost it. And
it
I
just
think if they
became,
ended it where she was extracting the whatever it was that she was extracting from the rock, they ended it there, it would have been a great film.
yeah. It sort of got to a point where seemed quite interesting, and then it just became about some people getting stoned and dancing to music.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh, okay. Uh, so I don't know. I didn't. It's not a film I would want to be bothered to watch again.
no. So don't be wrong. If it had ended when she extracted the staff for when like sort of halfway through
Yeah,
I think it would have been a lot better film. But the fact that it just seemed like almost halfway through they just gone, we need to. I just and took it in a completely different direction, and it's just
yeah. I just don't think it had a very good. It had a good idea, but not a very good story or
yeah,
anything. Really.
they had a
So
good idea, but there was not a great way of telling it.
no. Okay, so the second film is from 2016, and this is uh
I'll try not to drop it.
the second film is from 2016. This is said to be a horror thriller, which I suppose it is, and it's a film called Curve.
Yes,
Written and directed by Tim Egan. The cast is Laura Jane Turner. This has won lots of awards, this film.
you know what? I'm not surprised.
No, nor me. The synopsis says, clinging to a smooth, curved surface high above a sentient abyss, a girl tries to cover the few feet back to safety without losing purchase and falling to her death. I thought this was brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I've got to admit, I apart from the other bits of the film, the fact that however long she was sitting or doing the way she was with her leg bent back, she must have not been able to walk afterwards for a start.
Yeah,
But I love everything about it. It's the tension that was in this as well that was built up.
yes.
It's I think there's not even really any words said. I think it's more like screams and stuff like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's such an atmospheric film. There was
Absolutely.
so much atmosphere and so much tension build up in this.
The sound, the use of sound and that in this was brilliant. It just the sort of sound effects and things that I just loved it.
And
And I love that you don't really know what's going on or why.
yeah, I think as well what I like about it is the fact that with obviously I think for me personally I think there was obviously there was other people on the other side that might have been caught or whatever. But the fact that you never actually see that, you just see the remnants.
Yeah.
is
I couldn't
very
make
well
my
done.
mind up whether what you were seeing was what other people had left on the side there, or if it was a mirror image of what she was doing.
Yeah, what was to come. But I just,
Um,
again, I think it's very well, and sort of, I had the feeling the whole sort of the through way through it that there was going to be something that sort of pushed her down. But
yeah,
the way that it was done with the rain, I thought was amazing.
I-
It was just ever so slight. But even the fact that you don't actually see what happens,
no. What
it's
I
all
did
left to the
love is
imagination.
what I did love is just before the end. Before, as you say, you don't see what happened, but just before the end, when the titles come up and it goes black, and then you go back,
Yeah,
it's not there. But just before that, I absolutely loved the fact that she's panicking and she's looking around and all this kind of thing, and then she just turns her head and looks directly at the camera.
yes, is saying is the
It was,
cinematography for this. I think I would love to know how. I don't know whether or not I would actually, but part of me would love to know how they done it. Whether or not they
yeah,
actually built the set, or if
um,
it was like all like all graphics or what. But they're
yeah.
saying either way, it is amazingly done.
Well, I mean, the set is excellent. It's got a great look, the whole thing.
Yeah,
As you say, I don't know if it's a proper full set or if it's just green screen or whatever.
yeah. But
But
either
her
way,
her acting was excellent because it's
yeah,
just her on the screen all the way
yeah.
through, and she was
And
just so good.
and the fact that it is like I've seen a few things where I've seen a few things and watched a few things where it's very obvious the fact that they're not 100% sure how to portray the pain, the
Yeah,
feel of it. But the look that she had when her hands were sticking and where they were getting cold and trying to and the actual pain in her, I
yeah,
think was just she is such an amazing actress.
absolutely. It was incredible. I I love this because it
Yeah,
is just absolutely 100% all the way through. It's just atmosphere and tension, and
yeah, and
it's great.
some of the camera angles as well. I think they had like the ones looking overhead as well, down the abyss,
Yeah,
and not being able to see the bottom of it, but just hearing the noises. I
yeah,
think was just so. It was like such an amazing idea and such greatly executed.
yeah, absolutely. It's a great story, really well done, and it's I love it. I think it's a
Yeah,
brilliant film, absolutely brilliant.
I would the fact that I think this one was the one that was on short of a week as well. So the fact that it was picked on for that as well just shows how good people
Yeah,
because I know that they get loads of people get picked, but the fact that it gets picked for that is just proves the fact that he is that good. And like I said, the awards it's won
yeah,
is
absolutely.
just proof the fact that it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't take a lot, but it doesn't have to be this big flashy film
No,
for it to win awards or be the best. It just has to be you just have to make it the best of what you want to do. It doesn't
absolutely.
have to be big and flashy and have like millions of pounds put into it.
Yeah,
And it's as long as you have a good story and great start like team with you, you can make a great film.
absolutely, definitely. Okay, so on to our feature film, which surprised me that this is actually from 1994 because I kind of always thought this was a 1980s film because it's got that kind of look and feel to it.
Yeah,
But this is from 1994 and it's a film called Brainscan.
yeah.
The director is John Flynn. The writers, I didn't know this until I looked it up. The story is written by Brian Owens, and the screenplay is written by Andrew Kevin Walker. No relation. He's written screenplays for lots of other films, including he wrote the screenplay for Seven and for 8mm,
Oh, okay.
which yeah. The cast, the main star is Edward Furlong, or Ed Furlong, who was, of course, famously in the Terminator 2.
Yes.
Frank Langella, who we've talked about before on here, he did one of the voices for one of the characters in
Yeah.
Small Soldiers. He was also in Masters of the Universe, as Skeletor. He was in Superman Returns, and he played Dracula in 1979 in the film of Dracula. The other people who were in the film, we've got T. Ryder Smith, Amy Hargreaves, Jamie Gallen, Victor Ertmanis, David Hemblin, Vlasta Vrana, Dom Fiore, Claire Riley, Todd Fennell, Michelle Barbara Pelletier, Dean Hagopian, Donna Bacala, Jerome Tybergian, Don Jordan, Pete White, Peter Colvey, Paul Stewart, Richard Zeman, and Zach, who played the dog.
Oh, okay.
Now, as per usual, I will put a link up to the IMDb page for the film so you can see what else those people have done if you wish to look it up. The synopsis for this film is: a teenager is part of an interactive video game where he kills innocent victims. Later, the murders become real.
Yeah, it's a bit. I don't know. It's a bit odd because it makes it seem like they're like days down the line, but it's literally he finds out the next day.
Yeah.
But it's. I would like to say I'm not justifying. I don't know what else has gone on in his life and everything, but it's very understandable why Edward Furlong, with the films that he's quite big for, like this and Terminator and a few other films, why he ended up so screwed up. Like every film he's in, his family dies.
Yeah, well,
He's got like massive like either someone trying to kill him or like stuff going on and like being mentally screwed up and scarred. No wonder he ended up the way he did.
well, yeah, well, it didn't get as bad as some people.
No, but I don't think it helped.
No, maybe not. Now, as I say, I honestly, I mean, I've never seen this film before, but I always had in my head that it was a 1980s film because it's got that look
Yes.
of a 1980s kind of slasher horror thing. And it's fairly typical of a 80s and I suppose 90s slasher horror film, but it's also got a lot about it that kind of makes it stand out and feel different to all the others.
Yeah, I noticed that the technology side of it, the whole sort of, I suppose it's you can class it sort of as visual, like as VR, and but also the sort him talking to his like his computer and the answer calls and everything like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technology that is very sort of more modern now, I suppose, now than it would
I
be.
mean, at the time, it would have been cutting edge sort of stuff,
Yeah,
you know.
but it's, even that is still stuff that we're still working on nowadays. The stuff that
Yeah,
like the stuff there's still people that work on it and making it as good as it can be. And I think the fact that this film shows the fact that that's all that sort of start of it. But
yeah,
again, it does. It looks it. I like it. I got to admit, I will say, for a for that sort of era of film, the soundtrack in this
yeah,
is very, very heavy compared to a lot of other 90s films.
absolutely. It does have a good bit of rock music in it.
Yeah,
I really like this film, and I was surprised. I wasn't sure I was going to,
yeah,
but I really like it. I, I mean, I like the effects and things in it, and I think most of them work really well.
yeah,
There are a couple of places where it doesn't work as well. The main one for me being when he attacks the trickster guy and his hand gets sucked into his stomach. That bit of effects with the
yeah,
guy's sort of intestines grab hold of his hand really didn't work. The other bits of it did when his head was
yeah,
molding together and that, but that little bit with the hand in the stomach just didn't work properly.
yeah. I do. I do agree with you. The effectiveness, and not just the makeup effects, but the visual effectiveness. I think were very well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, that bit I think is the bit that sort of out of all of it was the bit I just looked at and I was like, oh, that's just obvious.
The other
And I
thing
know that it's all fake, but it's just that bit was just like,
The other thing I noticed was every time that the guy disappeared or appeared out of thin air, the screen went slightly darker.
Yeah, I did notice that.
So there was
But
a little bit of a problem with the lighting, I think.
yeah, I've got to admit, I was really, really enjoying this
Yeah,
until the whole. I get the fact that it was obviously it's the game, but the whole premise of this is what's going on, and then right as it comes to the end of it was all the game.
yeah,
It wasn't, and it's just like oh that's quite a letdown. I was liking the fact that it was that build up of it's getting worse and worse and worse, and then
yeah.
sort of having to make that decision, and then oh no, it was all a game.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh
No, I know what you mean. I mean, there's some quite funny bits in this, some quite humorous bits, but there is also some really good kind of tense, suspenseful parts in this that really
yeah,
work well. Um, the story works okay. That the acting's pretty good. I don't know. I think on the whole, it's a decent film. That I enjoyed watching it, and the
yeah.
thing that surprised me was when it came to the end, I honestly didn't feel it was as long as it was.
No, I've got to admit, I don't know. For me, it had its moments. Like for the first half an hour, seemed to stretch for me, like really. And then
Yeah,
the last hour of it seemed to go past really quickly.
yeah,
And it was
yeah,
almost like they come up to the end of the film. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting. I was like, hang on a minute. I thought this is going to be going on for a lot longer. And
think-
I agree. With you. I like this. I think there was a few little bits that let it down a little bit, but I
yeah,
think other than that, it is visually a good film. Um, the soundtrack to it is amazing. The acting, a couple of the people I think were a little bit wooden,
yeah,
but I think that's more to do with the time of when this was made. But it is still a very good film, and I like the fact I like the little inserts of when it's met like the sort of to make it to reassures you what year it is or what time around it is with the
yeah.
little sort of inserts of like the comments being made of who people are into or the sort of comments on like the outfits and stuff like that. I think were very well done.
I do think it must have been financed by Aerosmith though, because of the fact that everybody seemed to have an Aerosmith poster in their bedroom window in their bedroom
Yeah,
somewhere.
either Aerosmith or Iron Maiden.
It's just like, okay. Uh, but yeah, I mean, there were some, as I say, there were some quite funny bits in it as well, which I liked, especially the ending part of it, which was quite funny.
Yeah,
Um,
I liked the bits. I've got to admit again though, like we've seen this with other films with the whole everyone goes you shouldn't work with children or dogs or children or animals.
yeah,
The dog in this I think was very well done, very well trained.
the dog
And
was very well trained.
I've got to admit I did like the whole. I knew it was one of them bits that we knew it was going to happen. But it's still funny the way they did just the whole he's burying the foot in the woods and
Yeah,
you see the dog walk up and I'm like, you know what's going to happen.
the dog's going to run off with the foot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's still very well done the way it was done. And I liked everything about it. It's just I liked the twist of as well with the bit with the cop that was chasing him,
yeah,
and he was getting trying to get away from the search party, and the sort of twist of how things happen there
yeah, yeah,
was very well done. And I just say it had a lot of good parts going for it. There was
definitely.
a couple of bits that let it down, but I think other than that, it is a good film. I'll quite
Yeah,
happily watch it again.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think as far as the effects part goes, I think that's just a thing of age.
Yeah.
The time this was, a lot of those effects were in their kind of early years, so it's kind of
But saying that though, the visual effects for or the makeup effects for the eye, what happens to his eyes,
oh
and
yeah,
the sort of the bits like that, I think were still very well done and still
oh absolutely,
on point to some of the stuff now.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes, it's a. I think it's a decent film. It's a good film. I mean, it's good fun to sit and watch it. It- you know, it's not gonna tax you too much watching it. It's not gonna tax your brain. It's not gonna be something that you're gonna go out thinking, "Oh my God, that was horrendous,"
Yeah,
or either way, either because it was so awful, or because of the fact that it was so blood gushing and everywhere. But it's got a good bit of everything to it. It's got a good bit of humour,
I,
good bit of slashery stuff, good bit of you know,
I am going to say though that I want. I know obviously you can get the like Alexas and like
uh,
the Google Docs and all that, but I actually want the whole thing of being able to shout Igor and something answer me. I want that. I want that to happen.
but
Like just to sit here and go, Igor, make a phone call.
you
That'd be cool.
just have to be able to get one that you can program your own,
Yeah, it's just the fact I looked at it, I was like, that's cool. I want that. But it's just
That's
even the
good.
answer phone like with him. I thought it was so well done.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Right. Well, there you go. So we got Phenohunting, which neither of us were overly keen on, but hey, if you want to watch a short film that tells you that smoking dope is the savior of humanity, then
It's basically yeah. That film is basically a really slowed down music video.
it's a stoner's music video.
Yeah,
And then if you want to watch that, fine. Then we had Curve, which we both loved. We think it's a brilliant film, and I think it's well deserving of any awards.
yes, and I definitely say that it's something that might have to keep an eye on the people that made it, like
Yes.
some of their other stuff.
Definitely. And then we had Brainscan, which was not it was a decent film from the mid-90s. Worth a
It
watch.
has made me feel old though. The fact that again it's one of them films I'm like, oh, this film's from the early '90s, and I'm like, oh, so am I.
Yeah, you were
Like
what?
this film's actually younger
Three,
than I am.
three when it came out.
Yeah, like this film's young, only a little bit, but it's like this film's younger than I am. I'm like, oh, actually, I
Yeah.
think fine. This is a year older than Amy as well,
Uh,
and that's what I'm saying. It's the fact that
well, I'm still reveling in the fact that I'm the same age as Doctor Who.
well, what one?
All of them. Uh, it's the it's the thing. I get quite upset when I'm at work because I've always wanted to be the Doctor. But when I'm at work and I set the alarm on the system, it says "Welcome back, Master. Do you want to set the system?" I'm not the Master. I'm the Doctor. Anyway, so thank you for your insights and comments, Scott.
Okay, I'm glad I could. I'm glad I could do it. Actually, especially watching the Curve. I think it was a very good film.
Definitely, definitely. Occasionally, we watch really good films.
Occasionally we do. Yeah, it's becoming a rarity this season. But yeah,
Oh, come on. Um,
well,
next
actually,
week
I
we will.
rephrase it. It's more this season so far than it was last season.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Last season you were complaining that all the films were from the 80s.
Yeah, well,
Next week we will have more of the same: two short films and a longer film and stuff like that. Thank you to anybody and everybody out there who has watched. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, let us know what you think. Just or don't let us just say hello. Just put a comment, just put a question mark, just a steaming pile of turd emoji, something like that. Anything. Just let us know somebody's out there, please.
yeah, just let us know we're not just talking to ourselves. I do that enough as it is.
Well, so yes, next time more of the same with different stuff and other things. And in the meantime, please be aware that in the long term, the short stuff don't work. Bye.
Bye.
The Sciforror Film Podcast.